Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. As always, it's Corey and James here, ready to roll into another week of college football. And we are nearing the twilight hours here of the college football season. Believe it or not, we're already into week 11. So we're in the month of November. Weather's turning cold, and it feels like just yesterday we were watching week 1 at the end of August there. So this has been a pretty quick season that we've experienced so far, James.
Yeah, tomorrow I've actually got my day planned. I'm writing slash rewriting my first scouting reports of the season. I feel like there's enough tape on guys now, and I hate having reports up on my draft guide that are now inaccurate. I don't want to just delete them because like I spent time writing them. It's better than nothing. But I hate having stuff that I now disagree with up there.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I'm doing a big mass go through the top 50, get as many guys written up as I can in 8 hours, and yeah, so I'm excited for that.
Love it. I love it. I love it. It's about that time of year. All right. Well, today we decided we talk a lot about emerging players. We talk a lot about helmet stickers and standout players. We wanted to do an episode on guys who came into the season with some buzz or started the season hot, who have kind of faded or dwindled a little bit down the stretch here, who might need to pick it up here in this back stretch of the season here. So we've identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11 names here to kind of talk through on this episode and kind of what we need to see from them. I will do my best to pull up their schedules as well, their remaining schedules and matchups they might have to do so as well as we record here as well. But James, let's dive right in here. And boy, this is a player.
Go by position.
Yeah, let's go by position here.
I was gonna say we don't have any quarterbacks. I think we don't have any quarterbacks, corners, or safeties selected. So if we wanted to just throw out some honorable mentions, we don't have to go into depth on those guys. We had talked about pre-recording how maybe Dante Moore needs. It's not as much like needs a strong finish as in these are super high stakes for him, I guess, but it's considering where he's being mocked and where some people like myself included have him graded in the top 5 and top 10. He does need to continue, can't have like too many down weeks. I think to continue to justify being graded that highly, but I don't think that he's necessarily in danger of losing a first round grade, at least for me.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, if he comes out and plays like he did against Wisconsin consistently, then yeah, we'll talk about it. But again, Oregon's remaining schedule here, and again, Oregon's looking like a playoff team, and they're one Indiana or Ohio State loss away from playing in the Big Ten title game again. But they've got Iowa, tough defense. Minnesota, not so much. USC, pretty good defense. They've bounced back after firing Chris Jones, and then Washington, who's fielding a pretty strong unit too. So he's got 4 decent games here to really put more out there on tape in terms of resume games. The Iowa defense, again, has given people fits all season. They even gave Fernando Mendoza a few fits in that game as well. He threw a bad pick in that game. But looking at Iowa here, I mean, they haven't given up. They've given up over 20 twice this entire season. Penn State put 24 on him, and Rutgers put 28 on him. Outside of that, it's been 7, 13, 7, 20. I guess Indiana put 20 on him too. Exactly 20. 0, 3. So I was feeling a pretty strong unit, so we'll get a good feel this next week there with Dante Moore as well.
Have you watched TJ Hall, by the way? Speaking of Iowa defense,
no,
he's a corner that has some hype.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched him either. But all right, any other quarterbacks that you would want to mention here? It's like I feel like any guys worth highlighting are just too far gone at this point. Probably like Cade Klubnik is still kind of in the day three race. Probably like had a solid week despite the loss against Duke. him and Antonio Williams, that connection is back. But he's fighting to be a fourth round pick, I
Mhm.
think, as opposed to a sixth rounder.
Yeah.
And
I
there's
think
a lot of
that
similar guys.
yeah, I think Garrett Nussmeier would be the other one to shout out here. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier came in with high summer grades, so there's clearly some love around the league for him. Again, his dad is an NFL offensive coordinator, so he's going to get a little bit of the nepo boost is a little bit there too coming into the league. But
That actually, I didn't even. I think I had heard that, but that explains a lot. I
yep,
had
the Saints
erased that from
offensive
my
coordinator
memory.
is
But okay,
is
that
his dad. Um, it's been okay. It hasn't been great, but like everything he's doing has been very capped, and that's what we've been saying all season long. Is that it's all capped. It's all capped production. I mean, he's sitting with 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions in 8 games. Man, like that's brutal production for a guy who they went out in the portal and added so much speed around him. So now that I look at this, I think we're probably too far gone for Nussmeier as well.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
It for me at least,
yeah,
but historically, the consensus has been way higher on Nussmeier than me, so we'll see.
yeah. Same. Mateer would be the other one who had hype and who hasn't played very well. We'll see what happens there. But again, he's got one more year of eligibility, so I would assume the way that he's playing, because again, he's making a lot of the same mistakes he made on his Washington State tape with his eyes and timing wise, that I think probably heading back as well there. I mean, he's sitting with 1,900 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in the year. So again, production's not everything, but when you see numbers that jarringly low, it's probably a sign of something there. We have one running back on our list, and this is a running back that, I mean, I think he's going to test well still, though, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think some team would say like, this guy can return kicks for me, like he'll be a kick returner bare minimum. But Nick Singleton out of Penn State is getting outclassed and outcarried by a running back who's going to run a high 4.6, low 4.7, somewhere in that range, which is tough. Again, he had a decent week this past week against Ohio State. Um, but Penn State just does not trust him with the football in his hands for whatever reason, and they're running him as a gadget, more or less.
Yeah, I mean he checks all of the off the bus boxes, and then
Mhm.
once you kind of get into the details of his game, like he just doesn't have the vision. He isn't creative at avoiding tackles. So he's basically really good on like pin pull. If you've got
Mhm.
like he could be a good 2 carries for 19 yards weapon for the Lions to run behind like Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
But if he's got to really sift between the tackles and read stuff out, um, I actually feel like I saw kind of some stuff like that from him early last season,
Mhm.
and then it really it declined and it's never returned. So, yeah, he's out of eligibility, so that's why he's on this list. Because just to kind of clarify, like we didn't include players that have maybe already performed at such a level to where they're just going to return to school.
Mhm.
So this is mainly guys that are going to be in this class. But yeah, we included him, but I don't have a ton of hope for him necessarily resurging to where he was preseason.
No, he's gonna go day 3. He's gonna go day 3. Um, we've got 3 wide receivers on the list here. We're gonna start out with Jeremy Bernard here, who started out on a killer pace with Alabama, but it's kind of dwindled a little bit down the stretch here. Um, last 5, he has not crossed the 100-yard threshold. Um, it's honestly been tough to see them try to get the ball in his hands a little bit outside of the South Carolina game where he had that end around touchdown to seal the game there. But last 3 games, he's only sitting at about 13 catches, 130 yards, something like that, and 2 touchdowns. After starting the season off at a killer pace. And again, I think Bernard fits the mold of a high floor wide receiver who can come in and he can give you something right away. the ceiling's always going to be capped, but now we're starting to see like is if you stick this guy on the field as your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, is he going to produce the way we thought he was? As like, oh, this guy can come in and be your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, Z slot kind of guy day 1. Do you still kind of view him in that same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think in recent weeks, a lot of the production, like he was heavily targeted a couple weeks ago, and there was a lot of stuff where, like, Ty Simpson just missed him on a few throws. There's some accuracy, uncatchable targets. So I don't know that it's as much, panicking or anything. Where I think it's knocking him down like 50 spots in the draft, but kind of I think it's a similar story with all the guys, all the receivers that we're going to talk about, which is that entering the year, it was like everybody in the potential top 15 was fully stock up. And then
Mm.
now, over as we're getting into the second half of the season, there are some guys that have started to level off. Jeremy Bernard is one of those. And I think that if you don't have the elite tools, then the production at the college level becomes such a more important factor, and it's critical that he continues to produce.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I believe that he does have a year of eligibility left, but I can't imagine he's taken that. Can't imagine he would take that. The next one, another SEC wide receiver here, Chris Brazzell at Tennessee. Another guy who really started out on a um, killer start to the season, has kind of dwindled off, and now it's kind of ramped back up a little bit here for Brazzell.
Yeah.
Again, he started the season with 300-yard games in his first 5, and since has had 1 over this last 4.
Yeah, Brazel's almost more just like you know continue to be get back on like the trend that you've been on the last couple weeks, because
Mm-hmm.
uh, last 2 weeks combined, he's got I think over 200 yards and a touchdown. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's good, but it's just continuing to bounce back from the not as productive stretch over the middle against Bama, Arkansas, and the key thing to keep in mind here is that part of the reason we're talking about them like this is because the competition in this class is so strong. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
to be a first round pick, it's really going to come down, like with Chris Brazzell, teams are going to turn on they will have the Georgia game, but teams are going to turn on the Bama game potentially first. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these key games, it is key that you continue to build up your resume, and it can be the difference between day 1 and day 2 pick.
Yeah. Tennessee's on a bye this week, but then he's got New Mexico State, but then he does have Florida and Vanderbilt. So a couple SEC should be pretty good games there to close out the stretch. Florida's playing pretty good football after firing Napier this past weekend before falling out late against Georgia. But and then Vanderbilt almost fought back and came back on Texas there as well. But so he'll have opportunities here. And then Tennessee looks like maybe a fringe playoff team.
I saw on the game they said it was like a 3% chance that they make the playoffs with a loss. So
Oh, they do have 3 losses. Yeah,
yeah, I don't see it happening.
yeah. Brutal. 2 of them by 1 score. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen either. So yeah, he's got 3 chances here. If he does declare, he's not gonna play in a bowl game. Nobody's playing these bowl games anymore. So realistically, 3 more chances here for Brazel. And then the last one is Makai Lemon, who we actually gave a call to family shout to pretty early in the season because he was on a torrid, like a Bolitnikov pace to start the season. And again, Jade Mayava slowed down quite a bit as well, which definitely contributes a little bit to it. Mayava's making some pretty rough decisions as well down the stretch here. But I mean, at the same time, though, Makai Lemon is coming off of a game with a drop, and only 4 targets. So I mean, the past 2 weeks combined, he's only had 9 targets against Nebraska and Notre Dame his last 2 games. So a lot of it is, and against Notre Dame, he had 4 catches on 5 targets for 76. So um, a lot of it is that the volume has decreased for Lemon here.
Yeah, I mean, the drop was just like on a sit route in zone coverage, and he hasn't really had any. All of his production has kind of been like cheap stuff recently, so it's been pretty an uneventful last few weeks for Makai Lemon. I still think like his resume.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that if the draft was today, I don't think he's out of the first round or anything, but especially in this class, it's weird because it's like the competition in the receiver class is really strong, but the competition in the rest of the class is not. So how does that balance out? Because a certain number of teams, every team needs receiver, but a certain number of teams need it to where they're taking it in the first round. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. He's got Northwestern, Iowa, Oregon, UCLA. So, um, still got the Iowa defense, TJ Hall, as you mentioned earlier, and then the Oregon defense there. So two pretty strong games there as well. USC is sitting with a couple losses too. So, um, if they do have a shot at sneaking into the back end here, they've got to beat Oregon down the stretch here, and that'll be November 22nd. So we'll see if we can sneak an extra game on the schedule too if they beat Oregon, but might be looking a little bit ahead there. All right, we got one tight end on the list here, and this is one that I've said that I've been most disappointed in the season, and it's Wyoming tight end John Michael Gillenborg. Man, came into the season really high, like ceiling or really high expectations for him, and it just hasn't happened at all. There's been no production outside of like one game this season for John Michael Gillenborg. Again, he does get the benefit of the doubt of playing a position where you test out of your mind, you're still going to get drafted higher than the production speaks to, and maybe even the tape speaks to. But I mean, Gillenborg's having some big time drop issues this year too. He has 4 registered drops on only 20 targets, so that's not great. It's looking rough out here for Gillenborg.
Yeah, metrics according to Huddle IQ, where he is in the sub first percentile
Yeesh.
among college tight ends, would be chunk play percentage, which is 15 plus yard plays, explosive play percentage, which is 25 plus yard plays, EPA per play, catch rate over expected. Those are all sub first percentile. Now it's a smaller sample size, 168 plays, because he hasn't played as much. But yeah, it's been a disappointing year for Gillenborg.
Which is shocking because like on his previous years, the bigger plays were coming on those flats that he'd catch and then run up the sideline
Right.
and be able to break angles and create chunks, or catching those like sail routes, or even seam balls and being able to make a play on the football. But just no production here. I mean, he could go out and he could have a great end to his season here, but I don't. I have a hard time seeing him getting out of day 3, like sneaking out of day 3 at this point.
Yeah, I mean the only thing he's done really is against Northern Iowa. He had
Mhm.
like a touchdown and then caught a little flatter swing pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he if he would have declared last year, I think he would have been a higher pick than he'll be this
Oh
year.
yeah. He should have transferred. He should have
Yeah.
transferred. Yeah. Brutal end there for Gillenborg here. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball here, we've got a couple edges to mention here, and we're going to start out with Keldrick Falk. And again, Keldrick Falk is only 20, so like there's a chance he goes back to school. But I think even though there is a chance, it's a very small chance because he's been a projected top 10 pick for so long, and even in this draft class, even if he's on this list, I think we could pen him into the first round somewhere still. Um, but what I will say is, I came into the season lower on Keldrick Falk, and I'm still lower on Keldrick Falk. I don't see a lot of good juice with the hands. I do think he's got a little more flexible in the hips for guys his size, like he can reduce surface area, but he's not taking outside corners. And then I'm not even sure he's converting speed to power at a level that a guy like him should be able to convert speed to power at right
It's forever said. Definitely agree on the speed to power note, and there are so many similarities between him and Michael Williams, who I feel like
Hmm.
didn't rush with as much power as he was capable of. So yeah, I think with Folk, it's really just about like top 15 versus top 5 pick.
Yeah.
It's he can be a first rounder, I think, if he wants to declare. I mean, we were talking a few episodes about how the transfer portal could be pretty insane. Can you imagine Keldrick Folk in the transfer portal? I mean,
I mean, Auburn's going to bleed a lot of top tier talent.
yeah. With all of, I mean, on top of like players that potentially could return to school, with all of the huge programs that have lost coaches, there are going to be like just some 4-star recruits that you've never heard of that were like freshmen that are just a year away, and
Hmm.
they wind up at some random program and like break out. I feel like we're gonna hear about so many transfers from a lot of these schools, and I mean obviously that'll continue to happen, but
Yeah.
with buyouts, I don't think we'll see a year with so many job openings like this for a while. Would be my
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing that the college landscape you got to talk about now too is like if you got to buy a coach out, that's millions of dollars you can't invest into your roster.
Right.
So you'll see,
Yeah.
like I think
Exactly.
this was the Florida predicament. Like I think this is why they held on to Napier longer than they maybe wanted to, is because like, well, if we got to spend money to buy him out, that's less money we can spend towards getting
Yeah.
Napier some players to try to turn this thing around. Auburn's gonna be the same way. Like I would guarantee, like not guarantee it, high likelihood Singleton's heading back in the portal. Like high likelihood. I bet Deuce Knight is heading back in the portal. Who he's never been in the portal. He flipped his recruitment, but we're gonna see some names from that school head in. Other edge here, LT Overton. Again, we did our edge episode last week, and we both think that LT Overton is a day 3 player.
Yeah, almost like not even really. We didn't even include TJ Parker because feel like he's
Mhm.
firmly a day 3 player, and I think LT Overton is in the same boat
Yeah.
where I, I mean obviously like if you have 7 pressures and 3 sacks every game to finish the season, like, and they're all high quality, then yeah, I will that will affect it, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. I'm not either. And again, it would be different if I felt like there was athletic tools to bet on there, and I don't.
Right.
So, pretty brief conversation there on LT Overton. Uh, Defensive tackle, and this is a big one, man, but like because he was both of our number 1 player in the class coming into the season. It's Peter Woods. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that he's just checked out?
I mean, I hate to speculate on that kind of stuff, but
I mean, Clemson's
there have
way
been
out of the
a
playoff race.
yeah, I mean, just like stuff that I've heard talking to the Clemson program is like Peter Woods when he's checked in is like a blue chip elite player.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I don't know about that, but the tape is just so underwhelming
Mm-hmm.
this year, and I honestly think like if you just if I watched his tape, his college seasons in reverse chronological order, I would say, wow, he's developed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's a complex way of saying he's regressed a little bit. Like
Indeed.
not. It's not that he's bad. It's not like he's getting just moved and does nothing. Like I think he had a sack this past game. It's just need more than a couple wins a game as a pass rusher and like a couple nice, you know, stack and sheds. Like he's got to be a guy that can't keep out of the backfield, and that's just not the case.
He does have 6 carries for 10 yards and 2 touchdowns this season, though.
Oh God.
So,
That's
Him and Caden
the
Proctor.
Caden Proctor, the failed the declining summer scouting darling gimmick is just
Just, just
give
get him
them
in the end zone.
carries to try to get like draft Twitter
Yeah.
attention, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, he's at 2.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks in the season through 8 games. And again, especially defensive tackle, like production is very calculated and can be very misguiding. But when we're talking about a player like Peter Woods, you would hope for a little something more than that.
Can I say the other thing about the carries is that
Yeah.
um, there have been a couple Caden Proctor carries that didn't work because the left tackle that replaced him missed the block, which I just think is really ironic.
It is very funny. It is very funny
So it's like I wish Caden Proctor could block for Caden
for
Proctor.
Caden Proctor.
Then
Yeah.
you'd have the complete set.
Maybe some team with 2 first-round picks should draft both Caden Proctor and Peter Woods and let Caden Proctor block for Peter
Yeah,
Woods. There we go. Or vice versa. Put Caden Proctor back there and bring Peter Woods in at a jumbo look,
just
and there
a
we go.
weapon. Travis
Yeah.
Hunter.
Yeah. Two-way star. Um, we snuck an offensive tackle in the back end of this list that I probably should have noticed and moved up. But
Oh
we
yeah,
have
that's my
one
bad.
offensive tackle on this list. We talked ad nauseum about Caden Proctor, so we're not going to talk about that at all.
No.
But the one, and I think we're going to talk about offensive tackles this week anyway, so
Yeah.
we'll go over the class in full. But the one offensive tackle whose tape has been the most disappointing and who has no more eligibility to work with here is going to be Oregon left tackle Isaiah World, who came into the season a little clunky, but you saw the athletic tools and you saw the frame and you saw the dense lower half and the anchor, and you said, okay, there's a lot to work with here. Bring him over from Nevada, put him in a big time Power 4 program. Let them coach that guy up a little bit and see what is spit out on the other end, and it hasn't been an improvement.
Yeah,
So
the
again,
anchor sucks this year.
yeah, which is the most shocking part.
I'm not like he's not a guy that I think like I have a big spreadsheet where I keep track of every game that I've watched like from a player, so I don't it's a whole thing. But I haven't like watched a ton of Isaiah World games where I'm like keeping track of him every play because I'll get to him at the end of the season. I don't think he's going to be a super high pick, but I notice him like once every time I watch Oregon offense just get flattened by somebody
Yep.
in like embarrassing fashion.
Yep. And again, he hasn't.
Like the lower half flexibility to redirect impact, that he's lacking.
Yeah. And he hasn't faced a stable of like world beating pass rushers either this year. Like outside of the Penn State game, which is his worst game, where he gave up 3 pressures in that game. I mean, we're talking about Anto Saka. Maybe this is the next best pass rusher that he's faced. Probably the best pass rusher he's faced. He graded out pretty poorly in the
But there
Northwestern game.
weren't there were like barely any one-on-ones between him and Anto Saka because I remember Anto Saka was just working Alex Harkey the whole game.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So like he hasn't faced world beaters, and he's still looking a little rough. So we need to see it pick up from Isaiah World here. Not my favorite body type either. I don't really typically love those 6'8" guys, but I think he has a denser frame where it's like, okay, you can be that big if you're that dense, and I think he still moves fairly well. You mentioned the lack of redirect, and that's certainly there, but yeah, man, Isaiah World's got to pick it up a little bit, and there's a couple other tackles, and again we'll get into it later, but I thought this was Caleb Lomu's best tape of the season so far for Utah. I thought Fano was still a little up and down this past week as well, but so I think that the tackle class is wide open, but I think we might be a little bit too far out of the conversation for World to be considered like a top 3 tackle in this class, like he was coming into the season in those conversations. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you got anything else to add there?
No, I mean we'll get into offensive line later this week, but I mean the only other guys to mention would be like the Florida offensive linemen who are just like we weren't that impressed with to begin with.
Right. Last guy on our list here. And again, this guy's a bit of a victim of starting out his career on fire, but in a role that wasn't sustainable for him to do at the NFL level. And that's going to be LSU linebacker Harold Perkins, again, who started his career as a true freshman, just hitting ghost move after ghost move after ghost move and racking up a lot of production off the edge as a pass rusher. But again, the guy's like 6'1", 220. Like he's not going to rush the passer at the NFL level, at least as an edge rusher. So he has to make that transition to off ball. He did have an interception.
Can I say one thing about his?
Yeah.
So his freshman like pass rushing production, when I did a summer video, like my summer scouting video on my YouTube channel, James Foster, self-titled. I went back to Harold Perkins' freshman pass rushing tape to find clips, and it was the first time I had watched it in years, and I had forgotten just how many of his pressures were QB spy pressures. Like, you'd be surprised how little of it was actually like one-on-one winning. Not that he didn't have any of that, but I also think on top of not really having the size for that to be stable or translatable, he didn't have the production itself wasn't that stable, or
Yeah. Yep. But the linebacker tape this year, man, is not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Now, he does have the luxury, if you want to call it a luxury, of coming back for another year because he again, last year he got hurt after 4 games. So he was able to redshirt last season. So technically a redshirt junior. He could come back next season. Again, he just turned 21. So he could come back next season and turn 23 the first month of his rookie season. So we're talking about a guy who's still pretty young. But again, we're talking about him. Does he stay loyal to LSU in that point and go back to a turned upside down program at this point? Does he transfer out after being there for 4 years? So like, there's a lot of questioning that's going to happen here. And then we also have to have the conversation: does he have the frame to add mass to, or is he pretty capped out at like 6'1", 220, 225?
Yeah, and I've got 6001 215.
Jeez. Yeah, so hardly 6 foot, like 6 foot on the dot, and 215 pounds verified.
Yeah, and despite the results just being consistently awful, LSU refused to stop playing him at star.
Mm-hmm.
So because he's not like this rangy, gonna take these deep 20-yard drops with like deep digs and like take away dagger and stuff like that. I would be interested to see him in closer to the box role in college, but then, how are you projecting a 215 pounder to then do that in the NFL? So
right,
I don't
play
know.
Sam at the NFL level, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not really too optimistic about Harold Perkins' NFL projections, and to be honest, I never have been, like, ever since I first watched him, just because there are like pieces of a really good football player. There's like traits and skills from kind of different positions, but they don't really combine to form a position that exists
right
in the NFL. So
right. Yeah. It's like with, like, we've talked a lot about Anthony Hill. Despite Anthony Hill's deficiencies that we see on his tape, the guy's 6'3" and 238 pounds, something like that.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you stick that guy in the A gap, and I can see some merits there. It's like,
Right.
where do I put Harold Perkins where I can really see the merits come out? And it's hard to find that. Hard to find that role.
Yeah. Get him.
If I were a GM, not to say that I think he's an undraftable player, but I probably wouldn't even have him on my board because I wouldn't know what to do with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a side conversation because I always just am so like, I think it's so intriguing, the idea of having somebody off my board, because it's almost always like, well, in the 7th round I would probably take them, but Yeah, like I don't even know if I would take Harold Perkins in the 7th round though, and that's not even an off my. I don't
Yeah.
even know if he would have if he's going to end up with a high enough grade. I mean, he might
Yeah.
as like I don't know what his. I haven't seen his special teams tape, but he seems like he could have special teams value.
Let's see here real fast. I've got it up. So Harold Perkins has played a total of 27 special team snaps this year.
Okay. Well,
and that is and that is he played 24 special team snaps in 4
and
games
they're
last
all
year. So
and
he's
20
not on teams.
and 24 of them were field goal block.
Yep.
Which is like
He's
not really the valuable special teams.
correct. The other 3 are punt return. And he hasn't played punt return since week 3.
Yeah, so I don't really to be honest, I actually don't know. I don't even know what position he would be. I guess, off ball linebacker, but to me, so I could see taking Harold Perkins in like the 5th or 6th round next year if he transferred somewhere or stayed at LSU and just played like Will. I could watch his tape from the end zone angle and he was within the frame every single play. I'll say that. That's what I want for Harold Perkins.
I need to see it though. Yeah, that's the thing. We need to see it on tape.
Right. So if I had a year of good tape like that, and then it was like, okay, you've got this really good linebacker, and he's 215 pounds, then it's like, okay, yeah, that's an early day 3 grade. You gotta have that conversation. Could it be an Ivan Pace type of thing? Could it be, that's then the valid conversation you could have. But where we are in reality is that he doesn't have that tape. So his draft stock is like, it's non-existent just because he hasn't, hasn't shown it at the position that he would ostensibly be playing in the NFL.
Yep. I agree. I agree. All right. Well, tomorrow we'll come back over for some Tuesday afternoon weekend hangover and get the rest of this tape through and go back through the slate and pick out some helmet stickers and some emerging players on the other end of this conversation. Talk some offensive tackles later in the week and then come back and have a good time at the end of the week to go through the slate as well, heading into next offseason. Next weekend. But James, you got anything else for the people here, man?
That's all I got, man.
That's all I've got as well. Until next time, this has been another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. See ya.